Aloha, friends. Welcome back to 13 Nights of Tiki Frights. That was the legendary bartender John Shin from Wusong Road Tiki Bar, one of our sponsors for 13 Nights of Tiki Frights. It's good to be back. It's Sunday night before the work week, but we can still have a little bit of tiki fun before we get back to work. As always, we are sponsored by Plantation Rum. Thank you so much, Plantation Rum, for sponsoring 13 Nights of Tiki Frights. They sponsor the cocktails, they sponsor the mug giveaways, they do the whole kit and caboodle, including our enchanted carving contest, which if you haven't heard about, you can win all kinds of cool prizes by carving up a pumpkin, tiki pumpkin, or whatever kind of pumpkin you want. Submit the design through the searchfortiki.com and you might win some cool tiki prizes. We're also sponsored by the world's largest manufacturer of high-end tiki mugs, Tiki Farm. Tiki Farm was on our show earlier this month with Holden Westland. Amazing dude. So happy to talk to him. Thank you to Tiki Farm for sponsoring 13 Nights of Tiki Frights. And then, of course, our other sponsor is Dawn the Beachcomber. Dawn the Beachcomber is back. It's coming to Florida. The official Dawn the Beachcomber is coming back. And we got to talk to Marie King about the reopening plan for Dawn the Beachcomber earlier this month as well. So if you missed those videos, go check them out. And thank you to Dawn the Beachcomber for sponsoring 13 Nights of Tiki Frights. Tonight, guys, we're going to be giving away this Riki Tat Tiki mug here called Joe the Suffering Chameleon. It's a play on the Suffering Bastard mug. And if you're not following Riki Tat Tiki on Instagram, please give her a follow. We're going to be announcing the winner of that mug soon. But first, we want to talk to the Headhunter. If you're not aware, the Headhunter is a tiki bar in San Diego, but you probably haven't been there because unlike False Idol and the Grass Skirt, it is a private residence. And if you have been there, you're incredibly fortunate because it is awesome. So without further ado, I'm excited to talk to the Headhunter and learn more about one of the most epic home tiki bars in the United States. What's happening, buddy?
What's up, dude? How you doing, bro?
I'm doing well. It's good to see you, even though it's a Sunday night.
Yeah, Sunday fun day.
We gotta have fun every day, right? Work hard, play hard.
No rest of it.
Just looking at your background, that is an insane amount of Bali Hai mugs.
that tends to happen when people come into the bar. That's for sure.
That's the first. Well, no, because they see the outside first. It's not like you blindfold them and pop.
Yeah, the A-frame. The A-frame is pretty rad. It's got a really. It's separated from the house, so it has this kind of, just intimidating feel, and got two large Vanuatu carvings in front. Then they walk in and go. But usually the first question is, why do you have so many Bali Hai mugs?
I mean, it's a fair question. You might have a problem.
Right.
But, I'll give you a chance to justify yourself. What's with all the Bali Hai mugs? Where'd you get them all? Why do you have them?
Well, I mean, we'll get right into it. I grew up in San Diego. Actually, I grew up in Ocean Beach, which is like a sister just across over the hill from the Bali Hai in Point Loma. My mom went to school with Susie Ham, who's Tom Ham's daughter, who runs it now with her son, Tommy. I was going there as a kid to Easter, brunches or whatever. My senior prom was there, the after prom. Long story short, in the early 90s when I started thrifting, I found a Bali Hai mug at a thrift store for like $1. I go down there. There used to be a little souvenir shop to the right as you walked in, and I went in and asked the lady, basically, hey, do you have any more of these? And she's like, oh, honey, we haven't had those in 20 years. Now I'm going to date myself. That was in probably 1990 or 91. So as getting into vintage, I started going to thrift stores, estate sales, and I just started collecting them. And my whole deal was I wanted to make a chess set. So out of Bali Hai mugs. And I've never bought one online. They've all been in my business. I'm in a kind of estate liquidation and antique dealer, and I found them at thrift stores, estate sales, local swap meets, whatever. And so I kind of feel they just look really cool, as you can see in the photos, as kind of an army of Bali Hai mugs. And in between, there's There's salt and pepper shakers kind of in between, as you can see in that photo. And there's actually one lighter, which I was told by Susie at the Bali Hai that they made 10 lighters, and they were for the initial investors of the Bali Hai. I got one. I think I know of 5 or 6 of them. So, yeah.
And you never know the rest. Maybe they were lost to time because mugs.
It could have been, or broken, or who knows, And I really didn't think when I heard that there was a lighter, I didn't think it was an actual a piece they made. I thought someone got a salt and pepper shaker and kind of put a lighter insert in it. Then I found one, and I'm like, shit. I guess I was wrong. So
that's a pretty cool find.
Yeah, there it's right there. There you go. Bali Hai lighter.
Do you think that's your rarest Bali Hai mug then?
I would say, yeah. Yeah, I definitely, for sure.
I didn't realize. So are you saying that they stopped selling the Bali Hai mugs for a while?
They did, yeah. I think they started redoing them, I want to say in the early 2000s. Tiki Farm did a run of them, which the glaze was off, the scale was off, everything was off. But they did remake them. But they didn't make them probably from the 70s to the 90s for sure. So, yeah.
Has the restaurant itself kind of changed over time?
It has. It got it's evolved multiple times. It got I think restored or renovated about 7-8 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, and they definitely thinned out the exterior. I think it was more for events, and they could create a bigger space to have bands or weddings or whatnot, But the architecture is pretty much 100% original. And to me, it's the mecca for San Diego, Southern California. It's not going anywhere.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Well, the Bali Hai family, they basically were kind of told by the port of San Diego that you have to update everything, and we'll give you a lease. And far as I know, they got a 50-year lease about 7-8 years ago. So they should be good, at least in our lifetime. So.
That's awesome. I mean, that's one of the major problems of tiki bars, right? Is just the gentrification of land over time.
Especially in San Diego, in Southern California, the land is worth so much money, and these spaces are big. Especially if it was a restaurant, they usually have a parking structure, a parking lot, and they get tore down to put whatever. And it's a bummer. I mean, you'll see more places left in the Midwest or whatnot because land's just not worth as much.
Yep. We have a restaurant in our neck of the woods called Kowloon in Saugus, Mass. It's kind of comparable to Bali Hai in that, anytime someone's got a graduation, prom or whatever, they go to Kowloon. But Kowloon, unfortunately, is closing, and it's for the same reason. That building is built in the center of a giant parking lot.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's no way you can't subdivide the lot because it's in the middle of it, right? Yeah. So the only way to sell off the land is to kind of demo the.
When is that closing?
It has not been announced yet. I think. I am pontificating here, but I've never seen them as busy as when they announced that they were closing. Right? That's
good.
That's one of the things. And Brother Cleve, rest in peace, Brother Cleve, amazing guy. But he had a theory that it was all marketing.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think he's right, but
yeah, it could be too. I mean, there was a place, a really cool old steakhouse in San Diego called Albie's Beef Inn. It was in Hotel Circle, and they were busy, but not crazy busy. And they had all the Vincent nude paintings on the wall, and it was iconic. And unfortunately, the last few months they were open. It got slam packed, which was great, but it went away, unfortunately. And it once they're gone, 99% of the time.
Yep. I don't think it's a matter of will Kowloon close, because it sounds like it definitely will close. It's just the time frame. As long as they're still busy, they'll probably keep it open.
I mean, but we have this whole resurrection of tiki bars, which is fantastic. And then some of them have some food. The Royal Hawaiian just opened, which is an amazing build by Notch Gonzalez. He's a good friend of mine, and he killed it on that, which they do have food. But most of them are bars with small food or just drinks, because you make a lot of money on booze.
Yep. And it's not just tiki. I do love tiki, but you got some other cool immersive cocktail bars that I don't know if we would necessarily have those immersive cocktail bars if we didn't have the tiki bars to kind of like show them the way, you know.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. I think it's fingers off that pulse line, you know, of a tiki bar, and they all either, you know, I love the immersive experiences or theme bars. To me, a theme bar is the best. I mean, you look back in the 60s and 70s where they had a Viking bar, you could go to a German bar or whatever, and it was just cool, you know, and that's coming back. I mean, it really is, which is rad.
Maybe thanks to Instagram, if there's a plus of social media, maybe it's the cool spots coming back. Have you been to tangent? Have you been to Mothership yet?
I have, and that's another Notch Gonzalez build. So Notch killed it on that one, man. It's Mothership to me is sci-fi meets tiki, which you know, as a Star Wars geek, growing up with Star Wars, I love it. And the food's good. It's vegan food, but it's amazing, and the drinks are just are killer. The experience as, like, you know, I know the immersive or, you know, getting lost tends to get used a lot, but that's what you definitely walk in there and your eyes, it takes a few minutes to your eyes to get used to the darkness, which I think is awesome. I want that, you know. I want to walk out on a day, you know, and it's sunny and I walk out and my eyes hurt, you know.
Oh yeah, I always think of Frankie's Tiki Room when you think of that. That's another level though. That's like
it is. It's
every time you walk out of there, your eyes are kind of burned a little bit.
Yeah, right. Yeah, or it might be from the smoke, but
well, that too.
No, but the Mothership it's in a really cool area, South Park of San Diego. The guys own Kindred, who own that too, which is a rad spot too. It's out of control. I think that's I mean, it's taking bars to the next level. Honestly, I mean, it's a must stop. You know, like I said, their spin on their tiki tropical drinks are fantastic. But yeah, that's definitely a spot you need to check out if you come to San Diego.
So if you had someone, I mean, this question gets asked all the time, right? So if I just ask it now, then we can just link to this video and I can stop answering the question. Right. I am in San Diego over the weekend. I can only go to one or two tiki bars. Where are you sending them?
Bali Hai and False Idol. I mean, at False Idol for drinks, Bali Hai for just the historic experience and food. And the view is the best view in San Diego, like hands down. I don't care. I mean, especially if you get like a full moon coming on the backside of the city, it's fantastic. It's like it's on another level. But False Idol to me, I mean, it's a Martin Kate program. I mean, Bosko did all the carvings in there, which is like amazing. Notch did that build too, which is fantastic. You can kind of see the pattern here of good people put their hands on that, you know. So, you know, you're going to get a great drink. You're going to be around amazing art by a local San Diego artist, and the build out is fantastic.
I definitely, we'll get to it later. I don't want to talk about it now, but you can kind of see some of maybe some inspiration in your ceiling from False Idol.
Sure. Yeah.
Before we talk about that, so the locals, I've heard of this Mandatory Mug Monday. What is Mandatory Mug Monday?
Okay, so Mandatory Mug Monday it's every third Monday of the month, and basically you go to False Idol, you bring the group on Facebook calls a theme, and you try to bring a mug of that theme. Say, I don't know, Disney or Polynesian or skulls or X-rated or, you know, whatever, and then you try to bring a mug to fit that theme. If you don't have one, it doesn't matter. They're not going to not let you in. The cool thing is False Idol does open up at 5 o'clock. Their normal happy hour is 5 to 6. For Mandatory Mug Monday, they do 5 to 7, which is fantastic. Their happy hour menu's always changing. It's killer. And you go there and hang out with a bunch of tiki files from San Diego, and it's a really cool event, you know.
If someone shows up without a mug, do you like light them on fire?
Nah, you know, they'll let you borrow one. They'll let you
the Bali Hai lighter comes out. The Bali Hai lighter.
You know, yeah, it so happens False Idol sells mugs.
There you go.
Yeah.
Sneaky.
Right?
Suddenly, I understand the intention of this mandatory Mug Monday.
Hey, do I need to get more light? Should I open another window real quick?
Yeah, do it up.
Your call.
Do it up. You're fading into the Bali Hai mug collection. Here, let's take a look at some of the pictures.
Oh, look at that, man!
While you get situated. Oh, here you go. There you are.
There's my wife. Unfortunately, you guys got the ugly one. I mean, my wife couldn't make it. She's helping. Ilza's helping with a rad Halloween party coming up. So unfortunately, you get the ugly one of the group.
Womp 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 womp. It's always good to talk to you, though.
Yeah, man, for sure.
Always good. Okay.
In case I don't say it, man, how much money you made for Maui and raised for charity was freaking amazing, dude. I mean, I'm glad we were a part of it with our mug from the Headhunter. It was killer, dude. Really was.
By the way, thank you for donating not just the mug, but the experience for someone to come check out your bar.
Cool.
I really thought it was going to be just a couple $1,000s, and then I listed a couple mugs, and then all of a sudden, all these tiki people from every corner of the United States and beyond started donating stuff, and the whole community kind of rallied together. So good on everybody. Thank you all.
Cool.
Speaking of your better half, sometimes couples, one person's more into tiki than the other. Is that the case with you guys? Is someone into it more than the other, or are you just
not really? I wouldn't. I would say I was probably into it before Ilza, but she's from Indiana, and there's not much tiki in Indiana, in all reality. And but she's been into vintage, pretty much her, from teenage years on, and we're both into it. She hangs out with her girls and tends to cackle it up a little bit and wear vintage dresses and immerse in the whole scene and likes tropical cocktails and totally enjoys it. So we're an anomaly. I think a lot of couples, it's one or the other, and then the other one kind of gets into it a little bit, but
or they tolerate it,
Yeah, exactly. They totally tolerate it. But for Ilz and I, we embrace it, and it's really cool. We've met some rad people. We love it. It's a fun thing that we don't have kids, so we like to entertain, and we kind of do it all together as one, which is pretty rad.
So when did you go from collecting tiki, Bali Hai, all of that stuff, thrifting, estate sales, to deciding that you wanted to build your own home tiki bar? It's kind of a big step.
Well, it is, but I'll tell you what, and I'm going to go back in the Wayback Machine. 2001, 2002, I built a home bar at my other house, which is a rental now. It was nowhere near like the Headhunter. It was a covered patio, enclosed with some cool tikis, and I kept all the bigger stuff, the cooler stuff like the mugs inside because I didn't want them to get either dirty or broken, whatever. And then we had this like a split level underneath the house where I made into like a pirate's den. It literally was like a Pirates of the Caribbean and a tiki room. And this is 2002, mind you. So the only other person I knew in San Diego, I knew Bosko, but I didn't know him personally, but I knew of his place. And okay. I knew Matt Reese, and me and Matt have been friends, Reesnick, since the mid 90s. And Matt had a home bar at his place in North Park, and I had mine, but it was nowhere as extensive as this. So fast forward to when we bought this house, and I'm on a big property. I'm really lucky. I have an anomaly of a property in central San Diego, which is like on 1.5 acres. And basically I decided finally, was like, I'm going to build a bar. And we were initially going to do just kind of a cantilever like roof, almost like a storage shed where it would serve out, and with kind of like hurricane shutters. And long story short, I started digging around in Sunset magazines and all this bullshit, and was like, you know what, I could do an A-frame. And we did the A-frame, and it turned out bitching. And I never in my wildest dreams figured that it was going to turn into this like, Instagram sensation, but it did. And I'm okay with that. I'm an open book. If someone hits me up on, hey, where'd you get this? Where'd you get that? Or whatever, I'm all for it. The more the merrier, the more bars, the better. Everyone thinks this bar is like huge. It's not. It's under 200 square feet. It looks big. It's got a 17-foot A-frame. The ceilings are gnarly, but in all reality, the interior is not huge, So, yeah, but it just turned out to be a rad place, and people, I dig it, and everyone digs it. So,
was there a little bit of maybe competition in there where you're like, you know what, I'm gonna school all these other people, and I'm gonna do it big.
All, I will say, if you talk to me, Matt Reese is like literally one of my really close friends, and Derek Weaver's got the South Pacific room. He's a rad dude. We all kind of bust each other's balls in a great way, but we all have our own attributes. I mean, Matt's an artist. Derek's an artist. I'm more in design. I'm necessarily not one who's gonna like. I make my money with my fingers. I can't lose one, like on a table saw, something like that. But Matt and I and Derek and like Ron Maseko, and there's a lot of really cool bars in San Diego, and we all are really close friends. I consider a lot of those guys my closest friends. We bust each other's balls a little bit, but if someone hits us up, like when Tiki Tom did his book, he reached out to Matt and Derek, and Derek and Matt kind of was like, dude, you got to go to the Headhunter. You got to go here. And it worked out. And we all kind of watch each other's back. I'm sure there's a little competition, but the first person I invite over to the house is Matt or Derek and Mike Masterson, whomever, or Bosko. It is what it is. It's a big, happy family. You kind of weed out the bullshit and focus on the good,
Yep. You mentioned Bosko a couple times. When you look at the outside of your bar, you can definitely see some Bosko art, Bosko influence. Right. How did you were aware of Bosko? How did you meet Bosko? And how much of the bar was influenced by Bosko's art?
So Bosko and I actually didn't meet until probably 2015 or 16, something like that. I knew who he was. We would buy from the same kind of picker dudes who sold like tiki stuff, and he collected ephemera and swizzle sticks, and I collected, some tiki paper and whatnot. And long story, I ended up, once I started building the A-frame was done. I mean, when I got a hold of Bosko, my whole intentions were, hey, look, dude, I want to get a bunch of routed trim and 2 large plaques for the doors would open out to the outside. And he's like, yeah, cool, I'll come down. I showed him pictures. He's like, yeah, that looks really cool. I'm into it. So him and Truce came down, and they were like, man, you got cool shit. I'm like, well, yeah, here it is. It's going to be a rad spot. So Bosko and I started, I told him what I wanted. And he was like, yeah, cool. He's like, what about this? And we just bounced ideas off each other, and we really worked well together. And it came out like the front fascia boards per se. I was going to hand paint those kind of like the Bali Hai had in New Orleans. And he's like, why don't you do like front fascia boards? It'll make it look bigger. And that's a killer idea. And it literally made the total difference. The front doors, I told him I wanted saloon doors. He's like, shit, I've never made those. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to really fuck you on this one. I want them double-sided. Hey, let's try it. So, it just worked. The collaboration, Bosko is a rad. I mean, he's so talented, and his brain goes crazy on stuff. And I kind of let him go with it. And there was a couple things he probably told me that he wanted to do, and I ixnayed it because, I already was at that point where I was like, yeah, I'm not going to go that way. And then there's a couple things I told him that I wanted to do, and then he did. And then, like a planner, I told him I wanted to do like a planner, like his version of a planner in the tiki room, in Tiki room. And he did it. And he's like, I'm not going to sell any of these except to you. And he sold a ton of them, So, I mean, it works out, it's kind of how it did.
All that tiki art. Is there? So when and how did you come up with the name, the Headhunter? Did you come up with like a story behind the bar?
I searched for a long time with the name, and I couldn't get it. And I finally was like, well, the Bali Hai mug's a Headhunter mug. So I just went with it, and that worked out. And it just, it stuck. And then we have kind of a thing which actually came along later. I have multiple original, like actual skulls in the bar. So that kind of went with it, like real human skulls. Like, hey, you might lose your head in the Headhunter, So,
bruh, Where does one get a real human skull?
You know, I got them all at Estates, to believe it or not, and I think just going here and there with estate business I've been in, I've collected weird oddities, and I've always been interested in cool weird stuff like that, and it came my way, and I think I have one, two, I'm looking, three, four real human skulls, and then and then a Kapala, which is basically like a Tibetan ceremonial skull, which is essentially a cranium, and then you drink out of it. It's copper lined with it's got you know, some sterling silver inlay in a piece of turquoise, and essentially this kind of came out of nowhere, where it's kind of a when we were throwing parties, we would get really drunk and someone would make a drink and we would decide to drink out of the Tibetan ceremonial skull, and then of course someone multiple Indiana Jones fans were like, you know, Kali Ma, and so we basically just started rolling with the Kali Ma, and then it turned into, hey, you got to take your shirt off. I don't know 100% why you have to take your shirt off, but the first couple of times we did it, you didn't need to take your shirt off, and now it's kind of tradition that.
So this was okay. This wasn't a one-time thing. This is now an institution in the Headhunter.
It kind of is, and it's usually when people are pretty drunk at the back end of the night.
No, I never would have guessed that.
Because I mean, most people kind of look at it like, yeah, I'm not going to take my shirt off, and then after they have like 6 or 8 drinks, sure, why not? And there's some great video of, like, I mean, we've had you know, Tom, you know, Big Toe with his shirt off. I mean, we've had like, I mean, you know, all sorts.
Why does this not surprise me? See, if you were to say, you know, just guess which tiki artist we've had in our bar with a shirt off, drinking too much,
it would be Tom.
I would have guessed Tom Laura. Yep.
Man, it's getting dark in here, dude. I feel like I'm like barely can see myself.
You're fading away. Do you have any more lights? I thought you had like 3,000 lights in that place.
I mean, I'm in a bar, dude. I'm trying. Maybe move it up a little bit. I might get a little bit lighter.
There you go.
That's a little bit. All right,
Yep.
Cool. I'll stand up a little bit.
We can see the glowing face of Tiki.
Yeah, there they are. Here, let's do this. Jeez,
Yeah.
man. I didn't think it was going to get this dark all of a sudden. That's all right.
Yep. Well, I was going to ask you about all the lights in the Tiki bar, but
There's one.
let's pull up some photos of the lighting, because it's absolutely insane when you look up at the ceiling. I am curious, what are some of the pros and cons of having 18-foot ceilings in your Tiki bar?
That's one right there. How it looks. The con is I'm actually going to do one of these, see if that works. Let's see. Is that going to get me a little bit more light? I guess, yeah. So the cons are, every time I move something, I literally cuss and get pissed off that I'm trying to get in between the rafters to move one light, like to make room for another light, and it's a pain in the you know what. So
is there anything that you put up there you didn't really like, but you're just like, you know what, it's too hard at this point to take that down, so it's just going to stay up there?
There is, but it's kind of one of those things where everything I don't really care for in the ceiling is so far up, no one even notice it's there except me, so it doesn't really matter. But I mean, making that space like that, it took forever. I mean, everyone walks in here who doesn't know, they think that it's just you throw everything anywhere. But literally, Gabe, every one of those pieces was like, my wife and I pretty much like hated each other after we got done with it, because I was like, I would move like a nail or a screw like 1 inch to make it right, because I didn't want things to touch, or I wanted to be seen in certain areas. Like, you know, it was a lot, you know. So
yeah, it is. It's a skill set to make things haphazard, you know, because if you just throw a bunch of things into layers, things get lost. They get kind of lost in the shuffle.
And that's where people are like, Well, how do you layer? And I initially started with a dark background, and then did light in front, and then just started from the top to the bottom. I put the planner Bosko made as the lowest point of the ceiling because I wanted you almost to hit your head if you're 6'6". So I mean, literally, I wanted people to go like feel like it's on you, one of the coolest compliments I get of the bar is every time someone comes, they literally go, I didn't notice that. And there's times that I forget something's in here in all reality, and I don't know. It's just really cool when someone goes, oh man, I'd never noticed that. And they've been here 10 times. I think it's pretty rad.
All those little details. It's like the Trader Sam's Enchanted Tiki Bar kind of effect. But so we had a question. Where do you source your light lamps from? Obviously, Oceanic Arts is closed now.
Right. So most of mine are vintage. I actually got really lucky, and I was able to source about 6 or 7 lamps. When they tore down the Hanley in '98, got saved by a friend of mine, and I got those, which is pretty rad. I had Bosko made 2 large of the fish trap lamps, and then Derek Weaver does a lamp class every now and again, and that guy is as talented as it gets. I mean, I've made 3 lamps now under Derek's guidance, and they're badass. I mean, they're as good as they're bitching. I mean, you could get lamps from Woody. There's all sorts of like lamp makers now. There's even, I know, I think Typhoon Tommy down there in Orlando, they did a lamp class on a pretty generic lamp, but it's cool. It's
all right, wait. Don't hit up Tommy. We need him to finish the Mai Kai too.
I know, right?
He does not need any distractions. The boy needs to focus on the Mai Kai. So go anywhere except Typhoon Tommy.
I agree. Don't follow him.
Yeah, here's another guest. So if you wanna hear from Typhoon Tommy, and that one went on for 2.5 hours. I think that was our longest 13 Nights of Tiki Frights thing. But you're talking to Tommy, and the man can talk.
I love Tommy. No, but I think sourcing with lamps right now, either you got to make them be creative, and then hit some of these new lamp makers up. Embrace local artists, support them. I mean, some of them you could get lamps pretty quick. Some of them might take. I mean, I don't have a Woody lamp, and I'd love a Woody lamp, and he's a friend of mine, but he's got a back order, man.
Yep. See, that's where I am. So like people will ask me, where do I get tiki bar lighting? And it's like, I know a bunch of people, but I know they are all slammed.
And it's not, I mean, a lot of people are using the chunky lamps and the resin lamps, which I think is great. I mean, it's your space. I always tell everybody, Gabe, when people walk in and they ask me all these questions, I go, dude, it's your space. Do what you want. I'm a purist, and I used to be super gnarly, but I embrace, new art in what people are doing. And a lot of people are doing like Tiki Diablo, Danny, and guys are doing very traditional arts now, art forms, which is rad. And I look at it as like, if something makes you happy, because, everyone's like, oh, I don't want to, you get on Facebook and there's like, is this Tiki? And I'm going, well, if you like it, whatever. I mean, it's not what I think is necessarily what I would want, but it's your space. My biggest thing when I tell people when they're building something, don't rush it, dude. Don't go to the first Tiki marketplace and spend 10 grand, because it's going to go home and you're going to change your mind 3 months later. And there's no soul, man. When you walk in a space and you could feel someone just threw a bunch of money at it, there's just no soul, I want to walk in and go, this is someone's space. This is them, like Ron Maseko. He's a guitarist for the Simtars, and his place is the Reverb Crash. That's a rock and roll, man. It's cool. That's him, and to me, that's really bitching,
You can tell right away too. Like if you go to Gecko, South Sea Arts in Oahu, and you point to any random thing in his super killer, crib, he'll tell you a story, and that's kind of what you want from a tiki bar. Oh, I found this at this place, and it was so and so. That is fun.
Right. You could go. It's difficult, man. There's a lot of people looking. This whole subculture genre, tiki, whatever you want to call it, has gotten so popular now. It's difficult to find stuff. I mean, there's eBay, there's online, but there's literally like going to thrift stores. good luck, dude. I mean, you might find a mug or a little like Coca Joe's here and there, and you might get really lucky though and find something bitching. You got to source other ways, and go to Tiki Oasis has a huge market space. There's a lot of weekender things here and there where you could learn how to route or do something cool like that. I have a collection of almost 30 years, and you can't, unless you're going to go spend a couple $100,000 at an OA auction. It's difficult to find this stuff,
I do think that's an important thing, because people will, they want to start their home tiki bar, and they're really gung-ho about it. And then it just doesn't look as cool as some of the bars you see on Instagram. And people just have to realize that, these bars didn't get built overnight. These bars were built by many, many people over many, many years,
I mean, and put yourself in the position to find cool stuff, whether it's going to local swap meets, talking to people, I don't know, get off the beaten path. I think, searching Craigslist for obscure, weird things and knowing what it is good. And if you just search tiki, well, everyone and their brother's looking for that. But if you might search, like, I don't know, I'll give you a weird secret carved wood. Whoa, look at that. Then you might find a piece of Whitco. Like, think outside the box, dude. Come on.
I do think another thing that people kind of miss sometimes is the people that are selling tikis for low prices don't know what they have, right? Because if they did know what they had, they wouldn't be selling it for low prices. So you got to look for the things that you might call a tiki if you didn't know better. So like African art, right? If you're searching African art,
dude,
you're gonna find tikis.
Oh, so real quick on an African art one, man, my wife and I are walking around the local swap meet about maybe, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago. And there's this kid I know, kind of local picker dude, and sells down there. And I mean, he's a pretty smart guy. And long story short, I keep saying that because I don't want to take a ton of time. Anyways, Bills is looking on the ground and sees this little Tongaroo baby. And the kid's like, I'm like, hey, how much is that? He's like, $5. And he's like, oh, that African sculpture? And I'm like, yeah, that African sculpture. Well, I mean, it turns out it's an original 1963 Tongaroo baby. What used to hang at Disneyland, marked on the back, Walt Disney Productions, 1963. It's Rolly Crump. I mean, real deal. And it's $5. The guy had no idea. He thought it was African. And you got to just think outside the box, like you said. And a lot of African people think African is Papua New Guinea, and Papua New Guinea gets passed over as African a ton of times, and vice versa. People are like, oh, that's Papua New Guinea, it's African. I mean, and that takes time to know what you're looking for and what you're looking at. Yep,
100%. I think we have a big picture of that Tangaroa baby sitting in behind your bar.
Yeah,
the majestic piece.
Yeah, to the left of that, there's 3 human skulls up there, as you can see, and a jawbone. But that's all artifacts I've found over the years. I mean, 95% is old, and it's you can't have it overnight, like I said, unless you're going to go just spend a ton of money. And I don't know. I really feel like when you do the space you're going to build as yours, it's got your soul in it, and which is cool.
Yep. Would you obviously there seems to be growing as time goes on, but there's a huge influx of tiki people that come from a love of Disney and Disneyland. When you were growing up, was Disneyland a big thing to you?
It was. I mean, I'm from San Diego, born and raised, and my mom back in the late 70s into the 80s, it was cheap to go to Disneyland. It was only 90 miles, and now it might take you 4 hours, but back then it would take you an hour and 20 minutes here at Disneyland. And it's like you're in a whole different world. And in all reality, in back then, the tiki enchanted tiki room to me was a place where I could go like in the air condition in the summer and like get away from
100%.
Yep. I'm not going to BS you, but then as I grew older, I realized, and I got the record, I'm going, God, this is really cool, and I mean, I know a lot of people who are tiki purists look at like, oh, there shouldn't be birds in tiki bars, and that's too much enchanted tiki room. Me personally, I'm okay with it. I look at old photos of or postcards of old restaurants and bars, Polynesian, and they all have birds in them. I mean, I don't know, like I said, it's your space,
I think, at least the birds are in the islands, right?
Yeah.
So many times we see like tigers and jaguars and like big cats in tiki bar spaces and leopards, and those don't exist on the islands.
Well, yeah, and exactly, and you know, and for me is like, I mean, we're you know, what's it? We're drinking rum, which is from the Caribbean, not Polynesia, and it was. I mean, we could go on and on about this, you know, but it's like it's your space. If you enjoy it and that connects you, and you feel like it goes, you know, and it's cool. I'm okay with it.
Do you think your opinion, now having built the Headhunter and seeing what is involved there, has your opinion of the Enchanted Tiki Room kind of changed or evolved over time?
Yeah, I wish I could get a cocktail.
There you go. Maybe some spiked Dole Whip.
Yeah, right. I mean, no, it hasn't really. I enjoy it now way more. I go in there and it's stand the time. I mean, how much more at Disneyland is there from 1963? I mean, you've got no attractions other than that, and the Jungle Cruise is still there, obviously downtown Disney, but as an attraction, Pirates of the Caribbean came later. I mean, June 23rd. The only reason why I know this because it's my birthday, but plus 11 years. June 23rd, 1963, the Enchanted Tiki Room opened. It is what it is. I mean, it's not going anywhere. And I think to see it, like we just talked before, like how many places are closing down. Disney evolves, and I understand why. They're in it to make money. People get pissed off when something gets ripped down, but I mean, they're there to make money and connect with kids at 8 years old or 10 years old, and they're not in a nostalgia business. I mean, unfortunately, and I hate seeing cool shit go out of Disney, but it does, you know. But the Enchanted Tiki Room is there, and it's not going anywhere, which is rad.
I do think there's maybe a little bit of them stepping back a little bit, just because the image of Walt Disney has become so iconic that to completely remove yourself from that would be kind of disastrous. But yeah, they're putting IP in every.
And they're embracing it now with stuff like what Josh Shag's doing for them and artwork and mugs and stuff like that. I still think their merchandise could be way better, but that's me. So
Hey, they've been cranking it out at the Polynesian lately.
Yeah, I know.
Got all kinds of. It's not even Trader Sam's. It's just like
stuff, right?
10 ceramic items from the Polynesian. Wow.
Yeah. No, that's crazy.
Taking a little bit of a tangent from Disney, I am curious, about owning the Headhunter, right? You built this bar, you wanted to create a cool space. Now that it's built, do you find that you suddenly have a lot more friends?
That's a loaded question.
A little bit.
Of course. I mean, I think, when people see, I get it all the time, and it doesn't like turn me off. My wife gets a little weird with it, but it doesn't for me. People see it on Instagram, and for the longest time they didn't know that this was someone's home, and then my wife put in there like private residence, and that, and for me, I'm an open book. I don't mind. My wife and I love to entertain. We love to have people over here. We built this space to house our collection and then entertain. But the thing is like, it is our home. And people have gotten upset. Oh, I don't get invited, or I don't this, or I don't. I'm like, well, I don't know. Maybe there's a reason. Maybe there, and for me, I meet new people all the time, and I open my arms to them, and I want to have. This place sucks when I'm just sitting in it alone. I'll tell you why, because my brain starts going crazy. Like, what can I do? What can I move? I'm in work mode. If it's me and my wife sitting here, it's like, all right, cool. We had one drink. All right, let's go in and watch like CSI or a serial killer thing or whatever. And so like when this place comes alive with the energy of people, and when there's 30, 40 people in the bar and 100 people in my backyard, it's cranking, man. I mean, I love it. And we got like high profile bartenders who want to bartend here, and it takes the burden off my back. But unfortunately, people just assume, oh, it's a tiki bar in San Diego and I'm in San Diego, I could come over. And I'm like, well, I'm not saying you can't come over here, but who are you? Like, we do a large party for for Tiki Oasis the Wednesday for out of town guests and our local friends. And this year we had the Central Coast Tiki guys come down, and it was a few more people than I anticipated, which I wasn't bad at all. I mean, they were all rad people. They all brought a bottle of rum. They were all respectful. In all reality, it was freaking awesome. And I was stoked to meet all these dudes. They're super rad guys. And they treated the place with respect, and that's rad. And a random dude off the street may not, they may look at it like, what's this mug? And I'm like, wow, that's my Ren Clark I looked for 25 years. Don't freaking touch that.
Which we got to talk about. We got to talk about the Ren Clark mug. Okay. Yeah. I don't want to know how much you paid for it. Something shouldn't be discussed.
Yeah, no, I mean, dude, Gabe, I will tell you exactly what I did. I've looked for that mug, and here's a quick tutorial for people who collect mugs or vintage mugs. They're very regional. When you're in Texas, you're going to find stuff like Frankoma and Texas bars. When you're in the East Coast, you're going to find East Coast bars. We're in San Diego, you're going to find Bali Hais. And so, it's super regional. And so for me growing up before, per se, eBay, I found a lot of San Diego or California, Tiki Bob's, blah, 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 Stockton, Islander, and, whatever. That's what came around. I found one mug from Aloha Joe's, Palm Springs. But that's what you find unless someone traveled and picked something up on their trips. So when I knew about the Ren Clark, because I saw a friend of mine at a bar back in the day had one, and then Sven did the Book of Tiki, and I'm like, I need that fucking mug. Well, I could never find one in the wild, And so long story short, I had it on my eBay search, and I don't buy mugs much off eBay. It's not my, not my thing or whatever. So I found one, my wife found one, and it was past the point where someone didn't really look them up, realizing how much they sell for. And they had a $500 or buy it now offer. I just bought it immediately. I'm like, come on, $500, dude. It's like the coal paint's perfect on it. So I ended up buying that for $500. It's the most expensive I've ever bought a mug. And I got a good deal on it at $500. And then I went and sold 2 mugs of a couple artists I don't really collect anymore on eBay for more money than $500. So I essentially got it for a very good trade.
Dude, I gotta say, if $500 is the most you've ever spent on a mug, you're doing pretty well.
Yeah, right. I know. Come on.
Yeah, I wish I could say that. Unfortunately,
I know.
I cannot.
I mean, shit, man. Van Tiki and Rob and those guys are doing just kick-ass shit. Luckily, I'm more vintage than new stuff, but I appreciate their craftsmanship and their artistry. It's freaking amazing, dude. I mean, it really is.
It's a tough life out there for us mug nerds.
I'm very specific. I'm I was talking to Jason earlier, man. I was like, I'm a 1 in, 1 out right now, dude. So I mean, I have the back of all mugs, and then I put a couple other mug shelves up, and I'm like, dude, I don't want this, because I have a lot of real deal artifacts from places like old bars and old places in here, and I don't want to just keep putting mugs. So at this point, it's 1 in, 1 out, and there's still a couple of mugs I don't have in the bar, but if they come my way for a reasonable price, of course I'll buy them.
Is there any in particular? Are you scared to say? Because then other
people I mean, I don't have a original War God, man. For some reason, and then the Tiki Bob Elvis, I cheaped out a couple times. I didn't buy it, and now they're too expensive. And I'm not the biggest Tiki Bob guy. All the Bobs I have, I think the most I paid was probably $10. So, so I'm not spending $400 or $1,200 on a Bob. I'm just not.
Who has the Elvis Presley Tiki Bob mug?
Who?
Jason T. Smith, which
I know.
It's worth mentioning because Jason on all of these shows, he's in the background doing all the title screens, the photos, and everything, so I can just focus on the interview. So shout out to Jason.
Well, maybe I'll get something Jason has to have and figure it out.
There you go. Yep. I want to go back a little bit to just owning a tiki bar.
Yeah.
Obviously, most people, it's fair to say, are respectful.
Yes.
Some people maybe not. Has anyone ever tried knocking on your door?
No,
the fence?
Really. I mean, we've had a couple guests that don't get invited back. they were most everyone's vetted who come here, and they're very respectful. Like I said, man, at the Wednesday Tiki Oasis pre-party, I had quite a few of my friends, and they're kind of going, I've never seen these people. I'm like, hey, dude, if they're here, they're vetted by someone who got invited, and they're very respectful.
Mm-hmm.
And especially in the Tiki culture, they get it. There's been a couple of people have kind of shown their ass a little bit, and they're not invited back. So, whatever. But no one's ever like knocked on the door. There's, vindictive people are vindictive people, and you weed those guys out, and you don't stress on it, and you focus and keep going forward,
Yep. On the flip side, okay, that's a little negative. We'll go positive.
I do.
Has owning the Headhunter opened any doors or opportunities for you?
Yeah, so I gotta. Yeah, it has. I mean, we've done the guys at Adult Swim, rad dudes. They were doing the Tiki show. It hasn't really turned. Yeah, fucking that. It hasn't really. It's an inside joke.
Yeah.
Anyways, it hasn't really taken off yet. But they're really good guys, and they came over and when they were at Comic-Con and did some filming, and they're rad dudes. We actually, unfortunately, man, this is a major bummer. Yeah. So during COVID, we literally, the week that we shut down would have been the second week of March of 2020. We actually had Norman Reedus from Ride, or he's, Night of Living Dead, but he does that show Ride. He was going to be in San Diego and at the Headhunter on Thursday of that week, dude. And
no.
Gabe, I had the freaking production team here on Monday, and we freaking went through everything. It was killer. He was going to end up here. We had a name for a cocktail and everything, dude. And unfortunately, New York closed down that Wednesday. They canceled on me on Thursday, and San Diego closed down on the 16th of March, literally. And they haven't rescheduled, but I heard it's in the works. So that would be pretty bitching if I get Norman Reedus here. Come on, dude.
We'll all cross our fingers for you.
Yeah, I
that
get,
would be awesome.
And every now and again, I get a random mailman showing up looking for a cocktail, but I tell him to beat it. So no, just kidding. He's a friend of mine.
Get out of here.
But no, and that actually with my business, I'm in the estate business and liquidation and whatnot. Everyone I deal with knows that I'm into Tiki, so that has opened the doors to me. Like if someone gets like, hey, dude, I got these rad Tikis, and I got a phone call from a friend of mine who's a estate liquidator too, and he's like, dude, I got this cool estate in Bay Park. Come over. There's these huge carvings, and they turned out to be these like insane fern carvings from Vanuatu, what are out in front of the bar now. I had to dig them up. They were from like an anthropologist from SDSU, brought them back from the 50s. So that opened the door to find cool shit. It really did,
You talking about like outdoor stuff. Do you ever get worried putting stuff outdoors?
Yeah, I do, man. Certain things I get weird about. But to me, they're carvings, and I hate to say it, I got a lot of fern carvings. There must have been a nursery in San Diego who sold them from Hawaii. And if they get hit with water, they get really beat up and they start pulling apart and whatnot. I keep them outside. I got a really cool Richard Ellis Tiki that he carved when he worked with like Fumite or whatnot. And it's outside. I've actually fixed the bottom of it, whatnot. It's actually signed, which is crazy. Like Spen's like, I've never seen one signed. It actually says Richard Ellis, which is pretty bitchin'. And like kind of chop marked in. That's the only one, but it's underneath the A-frame, and it's not getting any weather. It's getting sun, but it's a Mexican fan palm, so it's really dense. So that'd be the only one I'm concerned about, But weather's weather.
That's kind of a bigger question, anyways, right? Because you got, obviously the British Museum making the argument, hey, we're protecting art, and then you have, places in Egypt or places in Easter Island that are like, they deserve to be in their original context.
Right. I agree.
Never,
and for me, I look at it as like stuff gets weather. We're in San Diego, which is pretty mild. So we don't get a ton of rain and a ton of, obviously, no snow. But it does get dry, which isn't good for carvings, wood. So I literally oil everything at least once a year. You know, I anything that will take oil, like good teak oil or something like that, I oil. So that's all I could do. You know, I'm not going to overthink it.
Nice little WD-40 in the tiki joints. I saw some photos, and I'm curious about Evil Knievel Day.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh man.
At the Headhunter. What is this?
So that's a second annual. You might have seen. So a good friend of mine, George Williams, another tiki file, old punker. There you go. That's his photo. So George and Matt Reese kind of got together, and they were like hounding me on doing Evil Knievel, and we were actually going to do it at George's house, and I was like, oh yeah, sure, whatever, I'll buy one. I never did. Finally, George last year, so it would have been 2022, bought me one for my birthday, and he's like, fuck you, dude, we're doing it now. I'm like, let's do it. And so we did it, and Notch was over here but he was actually building Mothership at the time, and a couple other guys, and it was like literally the funnest thing ever, man. I mean, Matt and George are a hair older than me and Notch, and we just laughed the whole fucking night, had so much fun, and then everyone freaked out about these videos and photos. So a few other guys bought them, and then we did one over there. I mean, I could probably have 40 dudes over here, 40 and up, 40 to 60 running Evil Knievels. So we did one over Labor Day, this recent one in 2023, and there was like 5 of us, and just had so much fun, man. It was just the best energy, and just everyone just bullshitting, hanging out, got like, pizza and drinking, and let's try to jump this. And of course, I'm not talking shit, but Matt and George always have the best ideas, and they want to jump it off the freaking A-frame. I'm like, dude, I ain't going up there, man.
Lay down this Bosko carving and do some sweet jumps.
We have sparklers, and we jumped through. Matt did a rad like devil head and jumped through the sparklers, and I got a Fonzie doll, and we jumped the shark. So I don't know. It's just keeping it light, man, and having a good time.
I think we got one more photo.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so that's
the jump.
Gary is the first one. He's Gary Burns. He's in Deadbolt. Then Brandon Schwartz and Matt and George and me. So yeah, pretty rad.
Devil's Mouth.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Yeah.
You also Christmas time.
Yeah.
Christmas time at the Headhunter. What's Christmas look like?
So we host parties I do a Christmas party every year, a big holiday Christmas party. There's an elephant exchange, a white elephant exchange, and it's really fun, man. It's just a lot of Ilza, my wife and I collect vintage Christmas too, and we decorate like out of control, and a lot of people don't anymore, and they love it, and they come over, and whether it's one night or 4 nights in a Christmas, and it makes fun. And then we do the Headhunter. I put C9s up and blow molds, and we embrace it. It's so fun, dude. I'm not the most religious dude, man, but Christmas to me, the kitschy Christmas stuff is rad, and I love it. It's like a little gingerbread house.
As someone who's not in the Christmas market, is it easier to find vintage Christmas items than it is?
It is not. No, man.
It's not? No?
I'll tell you what, man. Instagram screwed everything, dude. Everyone now wants vintage Christmas, dude. It's like anything photographic and photos well with color people want, which is cool. But I like it, yeah. But and we love it. And there's a lot of people who I've had people come over to me like, dude, we really, really enjoy and look forward to your guys' like holiday party, which that means a lot to me, because it takes a lot of work for Ills and I to do this stuff, and people who come out and really embrace it and like it, it's rad. I mean, we do theme parties too. We've done a toga party, which was the Animal House party, which was epic. It's still people talk about it to this day. We did a Saturday Night Live theme party this year, which was freaking epic, dude. It was like everyone had to come in costume. We did about 60, maybe 70 people, and everyone was in costume. Yeah, that's the toga party. Yeah, Matt Reese did that. The mermaid. What was it?
The mermaid.
Great with the you know, it was the aquarium with the fish as the aquarium as the boobs, you know, and it was epic, dude. That party was out of control.
For your Saturday Night Live party, were you able to just dress up as like any of the sketches?
Yeah, no. So I said it doesn't matter what it just as long as it's a character. So we had the church lady, we had Gumby, we had everybody, man. We had Rick James, I mean, it was like it was guest or you know, or one of the characters, didn't matter. There was a lot of Killer Bees, which was an easy one, but it was a great sketch, you know. So you know,
did you have any googly eyes?
We did actually.
Yeah. I think that's what I would have done. I would have come with a bag of googly eyes and driven you crazy. Yeah, yeah. Every time you turned your back, I'd be sticking them on your Bali Hai mode.
I freaking found googly eyes like 2 weeks later. So, no, it was fun, man. I really feel like it makes people actually embrace it and work on a costume, you know, which is cool. So I think
that's got to be one of the biggest payoffs, right? You obviously put in a ton of work finding all this stuff, organizing it, building a bar, putting it together. And obviously you're doing it for you because it's something that you're passionate about. But at the end of the day, the payoff is having these people over and sparking joy for all these people and being able to experience it through all these people.
It is. And you know, I really feel like, you know, when you were saying, we were talking earlier, like competition, I mean, there's, like I said, man, San Diego's got a fantastic scene of home tiki bars and a lot of really cool people, and a lot of them I consider really good friends. But like when someone comes in here and it kind of sparks interest, and like, I want to build a bar, and that's rad. I love it. You know, I want to be a positive influence on somebody. And if someone asks me like, what'd you do here? What'd you do there? Why did you do this? Dude, I'm going to tell you whether you want to hear it or not. And
you're going to sit here and you're going to like it.
Yeah.
5 hours later.
Yeah. And I always really, really focus on like, dude, it's your spot. You know, I mean, I'm really good friends with Brandon Hoon's Beeline, and he's a rad dude. I mean, he's an amazing guy. I love Star Wars, but Star Wars is here. Tiki's here, and I'm okay with that, and Brandon knows that, and we're cool with it, and I love it though. If someone did a themed Star Wars tiki bar and that's their thing, I would love to have a drink there in a freaking heartbeat, dude. You know, so
there you go. Maybe you can exchange a visit to the Headhunter, visit to
Batu,
or wherever it is. I do want to touch base. We're running on overtime. Is it okay if we go another 15 minutes?
Dude, I'm good for it as long as you want.
I do want to talk about another theme space, a Japanese tea room.
Oh, yeah.
That I've seen photos of. I'm super into this stuff. I didn't realize until I was doing the deep dive on your Instagram that you're allegedly into this stuff, I'm assuming.
I am very into it. So
is this, so you have the Headhunter and now you're kind of like expanding into some other territories?
So my background in antiques, you know, when I tell people I'm an antique dealer, they immediately think of their like crappy grandma's like, oh, there you go. You know, their depression glass or whatever. And I don't really look at it that way. I look more like, you know, Art Deco, more kind of like higher end, just streamlined design stuff, design forward. But I love Asian antiques, and my old business partner and I really embraced Asian antiques, maybe 20 years ago. 15 years ago. And I love Japanese arts. And I got into the state about 6-7 years ago. It literally had a tea room built in their backyard. And I freaking flipped out. I'm like, holy shit, I want that. And so I took a million photos. I bought out the estate. I mean, this estate was amazing, dude. I probably got 40 antique jade tiles out of there. I mean, legit. I mean, it was killer. And most of the lamps out of the tea room were from this tea room. The Soji lamp, Japanese, some Chinese. For me, I like Asian arts. I love Chinese arts. I love Tibetan, you know, Buddhas. Any deity. I love it all, and I embrace it. So we built a tea room, and I went for it, and now it's called the Lantern Room. I haven't posted anything on Instagram, but there's obviously a ton of lanterns in it. So we went with it. I did a flock wallpaper, kind of like the Formosa. You know, it's kind of, it kind of could be like, you know, Chinese tends to have a little more color inside their interiors. But for me, I want to embrace culture, and I love culture. My wife and I travel a ton. It's something I want to do. And most of the Asian restaurants back in the day, you know, the Polynesian food sucks, and they would have Cantonese food, which was essentially kind of a broadened form of Asian, you know, food, and vice versa. A lot of the Chinese restaurants back in the 50s and 60s were like, hey, dude, why don't we make a Mai Tai, or why don't we have a crappy tiki mug? So there was a lot of crossover with that. That's where I kind of went with it. So.
Yep. From what I've heard, I don't know, you know, this is just from what I've heard, but the East Coast is primarily, the tiki bars that we have here are Chinese restaurants with tiki,
right?
You know, kind of added onto it.
Yep.
And my understanding was in World War II, which obviously a lot of tiki culture comes from World War II, was that because of racism at the time, you know, Chinese bars kind of had to rebrand a little bit, and so they went down the tiki section.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, you make a lot of money, and those guys would make a tiki drink or a tropical drink, and they wanted, I mean, you don't really consider like a Chinese restaurant with great drinks. I mean, you know, and then all of a sudden you got like a Mai Tai or Pearl Diver or whatever you're going to have in there, and they're selling a Singapore Sling or whatnot, and embraced it, you know, and for me, I love, you know, Asian arts and whatnot, and I just, you know, when we did the tea room is like on the other side of the backyard, and it really stands out, and people love it, and it photographs fantastic. It came out as well as good as I'm not 100% done, but I'm close. So I think by next, you know, unfortunately COVID hit and I couldn't source a lot of stuff at that point. Now I'm back, and yeah, it's coming out great. It's a pretty cool spot.
Where's your brain going for the future? Are you satisfied with the Headhunter at this point?
I'm not, and you know, it's Tiki's obviously evolving. You know that, man, and you know, I've changed out a couple rad things in here recently, but I do want to do like a shell waterfall. That's like, you know, a big clamshell waterfall. That's definitely number one. My wife Ilza wants to do a witch house, like a Disney style witch house, crooked, like, you know, that might happen. It would be very small, but it would be kind of up on the back, you know, theme area of the property. So I don't know. We'll see.
Does that mean you guys are into Halloween too?
You know, I love Halloween, but our Christmas thing is so big. We let our friends do the Halloween thing. So.
There you go. That's fair. You got to balance it out. You know, people only have so much time to party.
Exactly.
Yeah. We got to, before we go, we got to talk about your mug. We got to pull it up. Yeah. You did a mug specifically for the Headhunter. That was a Trevor Foster mug. How did that mug come about?
So I talked to a couple other you know, mug designers, and it was just never went anywhere. I finally hit. I love Trevor skulls. I figured with the Headhunter, you know, skull works. And I reached out to him. I mean, he's like the raddest dude. I mean, his work, his like attention to detail is like, in my eyes, one of the best in the industry. And I sent him, as you can see in those photos, the mugs on the left, and the two skulls that he patterned are two skulls in the bar, and he literally made that into a mug, and it just came out freaking amazing.
So the mug is actually inspired by the real skulls that you have in the Headhunter. I mean,
you can see the little tooth on the one up there. It's there. I mean, they're literally the same skulls. I mean, to the nose cavity and whatnot. So I took like 60 photos of those two skulls and sent them to him, and he mocked it up where even the bottom looks like the bottom skull, which is right here, which like literally you can't really see, but that's essentially the bottom of that mug, like where the teeth are and the missing teeth, and how the nose bone is and whatnot. So he and he was fast, and he was amazing to work with, and just a cool dude, you know.
Yep.
So the mugs, so essentially, I mean, I kind of, you know, I've had a million people hit me up on buying them, and I decided I'm not really, I'm not in this to make money. So I basically made it, you have to come enjoy a drink at the Headhunter to get one. And I specifically made it where if you don't come here, you can't get one, other than there's a couple exceptions. Two of my friends I've who do a lot in the community I've hooked up, and then you, who I felt was a good cause, and you got a couple to go with your fundraiser, and you know, and I reach out to both of the guys, and they're going to come and enjoy a drink at some point. So yeah,
so cool, so epic. When they do show up, you got to tell me how it goes.
I will. No, we'll take
the good ones. Yeah. So the first person didn't even realize. So like for the fundraiser, it was, you know, you get the mug and you get to go experience the Headhunter.
Yeah.
And that was like a package. Yeah. And the first guy, I was talking to him, he didn't even know that was part of it. He just thought that mug was worth the money. So it just goes to show how cool that mug is.
Yeah. No, it's, and you know, when people realize, like, I really wanted something that connects with the bar. And when people realize that that's the two skulls in here, and the back Headhunter sign is what the sign Bosko made for the bar, you know, and it connects with this bar. It's not just a generic whatever. I mean, it is this bar, and you get to have a drink in here, and you get the opportunity to buy a mug. And once they're gone, they're gone. I mean, I think we made 200, and I don't know how many we have left, but you know, I put some aside because I'm going to meet cool people over the years, and, and I don't know, how many are left, but you know, there's enough where, you know, I probably have at least maybe 30 left or 40. So they're there.
Do you think you'll do more mugs?
Yeah, I do actually. I got one in the works, man.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know.
Trevor Foster again, or is Mom's?
I mean, it's kind of a top secret, but
okay.
I don't think he'll get mad if I told him that. I mean, I won't tell you what it is, but I got notched to make me a mug, dude. So there you go.
I mean, San Diego bar kind of makes sense.
Man, I mean, he's my boy, dude. And so I can't wait. I can't tell you what it is, but it's going to be pretty epic.
That's super exciting, dude.
I'll make sure you get one, dude. Don't worry.
I got to come check out the bar.
Yeah, no, you do, man.
Next
For
time.
sure.
Maybe Tiki Waste in San Diego
this year because, you know, you're going to become an honest man, dude. So you got engaged, which is fantastic.
Oh, that's true. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
It's true in Hawaii. So that was fun.
That's right.
Yep. Now it's the planning stages. Oh boy.
That sucks, dude. I got married at the Bali Hai, and honestly, I'll tell you, Gabe, that the best thing with the Bali Hai for me was I didn't have to decorate, because that room was decorated by itself with just the open beams, the wood beams, and then the background. So I didn't have to deal with any of that shit. It was just like boom, boom, in and out, have great drinks, good food, we're golden.
Yep. We gotta buy a house though too, and I'm always like, you know, we could spend X amount of money on the wedding, or we could save that money for that future Headhunter Tiki bar in the backyard.
I would buy a house before you spend like 40 grand on a wedding for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Speaking of weddings though, real quick, we got to pull up a photo. Your wedding at the Bali Hai. You had some cake toppers.
We did, yeah. So I just took salt and pepper shakers and we made cake toppers out of them. It's funny because Martin Kate came over to the bar one time and they did the same thing, and I had no idea. I think we got married the same year. They didn't get married at the Bali Hai, but he was like, "Oh my God!" Like him and they were like, "We did the same thing." I'm like, "Yeah, great minds think alike, dudes." So
there you go. You're in good company.
They're right here. So my wife somehow found a little Indiana Jones, fedora. So yeah.
So she just found that? You didn't have it custom made?
No, she found it. I don't know if it was on a doll or what, but it literally, she hot glued it on, man.
Nice.
Yeah, it worked out.
That's great. A score. So the lighter is the rarest, but the best
I think so.
are your cake toppers.
Yeah, I mean those are, we just had a 10-year anniversary wedding party at the Bali Hai, and
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was in June, and we pulled out. It was actually on the same day, and I couldn't afford it if it was on a Saturday. So luckily, my anniversary was on a Thursday this year, and Tommy. So June 8th, Tommy worked with us and gave us the room and hooked us up, and it was freaking rad. And we brought those out and put them on the same place we got a cake originally, and got two uses out of them. So.
I love it, dude. Well, I'm afraid we have reached the end of the line. But I do want to ask one last question. Obviously, your bar is private.
Yep.
You need an invitation to go.
Yep.
Please don't harass the Headhunter to check out the bar. It is a private residence, so please, guys, be respectful of the Headhunter.
And everyone is too. And most people will reach out and just kind of be like, "Hey, dude, is it cool? Can I come by?" And sometimes it works out, man. I've met some really cool people, and sometimes if I feel it's cool and my timing works, I'm good, man. I'm not like this, like F you, like if it works out, cool,
Yep. Do you ever rent out the space in terms of like photography, photo shoots, pinup?
Yeah, we've done some, pinup stuff here and some advertisements, stuff like that. There's a beer in the works. A local brewery is going to do a beer out of here, which is pretty cool. All the beers are, trying to do kind of a, tropical themed beer or whatnot. And that's going to happen. Yeah, we did a Cutwater thing here during COVID. And the Cutwater did a thing about home tiki bars in 2021, and we were kind of their host bar. That's another local company. So yeah, it definitely. I mean, we do rent it out for stuff like that, but it's got to be something fun. And honestly, if my friends want to use it for free, I'm cool, man. If it works out, it's great. Yeah, I'm very giving in that way.
Okay. You're awesome, dude.
It's a lot of love, man. You got to keep it positive and try to hook people up. And I really feel that it's a two-way street, and a big what goes around comes around. So
the tiki community is a very giving one. It's strange. I've only been in it 4 or 5 years, but it's strange joining a community, and as soon as like someone knows, oh, you're a tiki person, you can come over. And it just goes to show how caring and giving the community is and passionate about tiki. It's always good to see people like you, giving back to the hobby that you fell in love with.
Yeah, and I mean, getting back to that, Gabe, like real quick I got lucky with getting into it when you could find stuff cheap, man, and it's not that way anymore, but it's still there. You can go and find it. I mean, and I really embrace. For the longest time, I didn't embrace new artists. I was 100% traditional, and now I do. And I really like with Bosko and Danny and other guys who make cool shit, and Notch and whoever. I'm all about it, and those guys they're historians too, and they really, really focus on vintage style, and I love that, and so I embrace it. I'm like, I would say my bar's, probably 85% vintage, but the stuff, I mean, I couldn't get certain things made like all the blacks Bosko made, so in vintage. So it's like embrace what you want and have fun with it. Surround yourself with good people.
Yep. Maybe ask a little less. Is this tiki, and more? Is this what I want?
Dude, there's some people who need reassurance. That's for sure.
Yeah. Because believe it or not, guys, it's probably, if you're asking that question, it's probably not tiki. but that's okay. It's your space. Do with it what you want, right?
Dude, you can't learn everything overnight, man. I mean, come on. It's like, Spen will tell you, to this day, I'll send something to Spen and he'd be like, holy shit, I never saw that. And I'm like, you just assume he saw everything, During Tiki Oasis, he came over and went through a bunch of ephemera I got, and he was freaking out about stuff that he's never seen. But, it is what it is. I mean, I love sharing stuff, and I really feel people get educated. I educate myself all the time on stuff, so.
100%, man. And with that, I think it's time to give away this. I just can't stop. I have this mug. I just have to like. Wah, 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 wah.
She's a San Diego artist too. She's rad.
Yeah, she just moved.
Yep.
So Riki Tat Tiki, guys, follow Riki Tat Tiki on Instagram. We're gonna give away this mug right now. But before I do that, I do want to give a final shout out to our 3 major sponsors. Plantation Rum, of course, sponsors 13 Nights of Tiki Frights. They've done it multiple years, and they sponsor all the cocktails, the mug giveaways, everything. Thank you so much, Plantation Rum. Tiki Farm, the world's largest manufacturer of high-end tiki mugs. Thank you to Holden Westland for support of the Search for Tiki website and 13 Nights of Tiki Frights since the second I got into this. He's been a major support. And also Don the Beachcomber. Don the Beachcomber is coming back, guys. The legit official Don the Beachcomber is coming to Florida, and they have a multi-year expansion plan. It's super cool to talk to Marie King. You can check that video back a couple weeks about the project and all the love that's going into that bar. So thank you guys to that. With that said, let's take a closer look at this Riki Tat Tiki mug, and then we're going to announce the winner. And congratulations to this one was from Instagram at BitNerd Nerd Design, only with a 1D. So BitNerd Design, congratulations! You won the Riki Tat Tiki Joe the Suffering Chameleon mug and the Pumpkin Patch Glaze. Congratulations! With that, dude, it's been great. Thank you so much for joining us. Absolute pleasure talking to you about your home bar.
Fantastic,
and the best in San Diego. And we'll stay in touch. We'll talk soon, guys. On our next interview is on Tuesday, and it's with Captain David, Hula's Modern Tiki, Captain's Cabin, amazing bartender in the Arizona, Phoenix area. We're going to talk to him about rum-based cocktails. So tune in on Tuesday and subscribe to the channel. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.